Separating, the short story written by the American author John Updike, is going to be the text of study for us today. First, about the author John Updike. He is a writer of novels, short stories, as well as poetries, and he is well known for his realistic and subtle depiction of American Protestant, small town, middle class life. Updike grew up in Shillington, Pennsylvania, so many of his early stories are drawn from his youthful experiences in this place. And by the end of 1950s, Updike devoted himself to writing completely fiction works. And most of Updike's works are set in Pennsylvania and New England, where he lived from the 1960s. So, Updike actually explored the issues confronting the middle class American life, such as marriage, fidelity, religion, and responsibility. And also, there was a lot of experimentation in his works, and he reworked a lot of characters from his other works into the works that he was currently writing. So, the story at hand, separating. So, in this story, the characters coincide with Updike's own life. So, John Updike actually divorced his first wife in the year 1974, and this short story, Separating, was written in 1975. And in the year 1977, John remarried another woman. So, this story was actually written at a time when he was in the process of divorcing his first wife. So, lot of that elements, the divorce from his first wife, all the incidents surrounding that first divorce is resonated in this story. And Mr. Updike's own life experience with divorce, and also the fact that divorce was at an all time high in America during that time, it impacted and influenced his attitude while writing this story. And this story is about the impact of divorce not only on the couple who are divorcing, but on a family which is full of children. And this short story is taken from John Updike's The Early Stories collection. So, a quick summary of the story before we begin the analysis. So, this story, as I said, is about the separation of the characters called Richard and Joan Maple. So, Richard Maples is a middle aged, middle class man who is about to separate from his wife Joan, and he intends to leave already at Easter, but his wife convinces him to wait for their children to assemble together and to announce the news to the children before he leaves the family and the house. So, how the couple reveal this news of separation to their children? So, that is the crux of this story. So, the names and ages of the four children are Judith, who is about 19 or 20, and the eldest daughter, and the next one is Richard Jr., and he is about 17, and he has a nickname which is Dickie, and third one, John, the third son, who is about 15 years old, and the last one, the youngest daughter, is named Margaret, and she also has a nickname called Bean, and she is around 13 years old. So, after the motive of the story is established, the motive being revealing the news of separation to the children, there is a lot of things that go around the concept of divorce. So, how during that time the people or the couple whom Richard and Joan knew, most of them they often did dramatic home improvements in order to, as a last attempt to save their marriage. So, just like how couples try to conceive children as a last resort to save their marriage, in the same way, here we see how divorce is often preceded by dramatic home improvements. And the same thing also happens to Richard and Joan. Richard tries to mend a lot of things in and around the house, like how he tries to fix the plumbs and then the lock, and then the tennis court. So a lot of things were in disrepair, and Richard tries to mend these things in the story. And at the start of the story, there is a symbolic meaning behind the time and season during which the story takes place. That is, the story is said to have, taking place during the month of June, and it is the time of renewal in nature. And that renewal, that regrowth in nature, it contrasts with the decay of Richard and Joan's marriage. So there will be a line where the author uses these words, that is, nature itself was, kind of mocking the family's internal misery. So this, the element of nature is given a crucial importance throughout the story. The author tries to bring in nature wherever possible. That also resonates Updike's own bonding with nature when he lived in Pennsylvania. So that idea has resonated throughout the story. And then there is a mention of the decline of the tennis court. So, in the previous year, they had built this tennis court, but during the season of winter, the court became in a very bad shape, and Richard was trying very hard to return it to its former state, and he becomes obsessed with putting things in order before he leaves. So, and also he vainly tries to fill in all the patches and cracks in the tennis court by trying to fill in the cracks with some handfuls of clay. But it was beyond repair. Everything in the house was beyond repair. So that also symbolically refers to how the family was in a situation that was beyond, trying to unite the family. So the family was way past that phase where something or someone can try to mend it and bring it together. So that family was way past that mark. So after this, the real matter of the story comes into hand. That is how the couple are going to disclose the news to their children. So the husband and wife, each of them have different ways and different plan through which to execute this mission. That is, Richard wants it to be a general announcement. That is, he doesn't want to, confront each child and face their reactions and anything. So he wants it to be a general announcement where everybody are present and everything is over in one stretch. But Joan doesn't cooperate. She wants it to be an individual affair where she wants to go to each child and give them that respect and disclose the news individually, so that if they have any doubts, not doubts, but if they have anything to ask their parents, they can freely do so. So that was Joan's idea, and she felt that was more moral and more ethical than Richard's idea, because the children need their rights. The children need to have that respect. So finally, Joan's plan was agreed upon. But what happens is, the eldest daughter Judith, she comes back from London, and so there is this feast at the dinner table that night. So all the children except the second son, that is Richard Jr. or Dickie, so only he is absent from the scene because he is at a concert with his friends. So apart from him, everybody else are present. And what Richard does is, somehow it was not intentionally done, but somehow he starts to cry, and the tears, they just do not stop. And when he starts at the head of the table, when everybody else are sitting in the tables, and Joan is sitting at the other end, and when Richard himself sits at the head of the table, some dam breaks away and he starts to continuously cry. The tears never ended. So the children, they tried to ignore it to some level, but by the end of the dinner, John, the third son, he walks over to his mother and questions her what was the matter with their father. So Joan finally, the mother, she finally discloses the news that they were separating. So the children then come back to the table, and their behavior, it changes slightly. So Richard, when he came to know that Joan had already told the children that they were separating, some kind of, a little relief creeps into his heart. And so, regarding the children's reaction to this news, Judith, the eldest daughter, she takes it in a very mature way. So the mother comes back and she tries to explain how this separation was only intended temporarily, and that, eventually they might even get back together. So, this is kind of an experimentation where they try to understand each other better by separating. So, this is only a lame excuse, that is not the truth. It was only to, make the children feel better that the parents had decided upon telling this as a reason. But Judith, shows how practical and how mature she is by stating that that idea was stupid, that if they're not happy with each other, they have to either separate permanently or live together. So, this kind of experimentation was not the solution, and this is what Judith says to her parents. And so it seems that Judith handles the situation very calmly and smoothly. And when it came to the youngest daughter, Margaret, it is revealed that Margaret had already been aware of some kind of disagreement between their parents, and she knew that something like this was eventually yet to occur. And so, she was finally happy that, this news had come out, because she already knew that, something was wrong and something was fishy. And so when finally the truth had come out, she becomes relieved and happy. And so her reaction does not make much of a difference for the parents. So it is John who takes the news in a very weird way. So he starts to behave in a way that he had never behaved before. So he tries to smoke first, and he is a person who has never smoked before. And then he tries to break the cigarette and put it in his mouth, and then he tries to roll the paper towels and then puts it into his mouth and starts chewing. So as he starts to do all these kinds of weird stuff, the parents understand that, John was not taking the news very lightly. And so the father gets up and takes John out for a walk. So again, there is a mention of nature, and in that setting, the son gets slowly calm, and then the real reason behind his sorrow is explained. That is, he was having a very tough time in his school. So that was adding pressure to him, and so this family sorrow was, yet again a blow to his depressed mood. So as Richard, comes to know about this, he feels very sorry that he had been obsessed with his own affairs while he should have been more concerned with his children's affairs also. So after that, the children all return to their respective beds, and when Richard and Joan are alone, she confronts Richard, because he had continuously cried at the dinner table, whereas she did not cry. So it must have looked bad in the eyes of children, because if their mother was sad about this separation, then she must have also cried. But she did not cry, so maybe she is the one who was wrong here. So that kind of image should have created in their children's mind, because John did not cry. But the real reason behind it is revealed. So now the author discloses to us that the reason behind the separation is in fact Richard, and he was having an affair with another woman, and that was, something must have happened between the couple. John must have found out, because all through summer she hints that she had been crying. So she had already suffered, she had already cried for months together, and she had become exhausted. All her energy were gone, and she did not have any more emotions to let out. She was completely emotionally exhausted. So that's why she was not able to cry anymore. So that is also revealed here. And so there is still one more hurdle that is left, that is telling the second son, that is Richard Jr., who was not present at the dinner table. So still that son was left, and the news had to be told to him as well. So that job was left by John to Richard because Richard and Dickie had a close relationship because Richard feels that maybe Dickie must have been the most favorite of all kids for Richard. So the task of telling Dickie that seemed to be a huge mountain like thing for Richard, and he dreaded that moment. He wanted that moment to never come. But somehow the scene is set for Richard to tell the news to Dickie. So they are in the car alone, and Richard slowly discloses the news. But after that, Dickie outwardly seemed to take the news very mature in a very mature way. He is calm about it. He does not show any emotion in him. And so they reach their home and they just go back to their beds. But after that, Richard senses that Dickie was not okay about the issue. So what he does is he goes back to his bedroom and tries to have a conversation with him, asking whether he really wanted to go to work the next morning because it was already 2 a.m. in the night because Dickie had been to a concert and it was very late when he came back. So Richard tries to tell that, you will be very tired, just take a break, don't go for work tomorrow and all those stuff. But Dickie tries to be stubborn and he says that, no, I need to go for work. And then Richard comes close to Dickie and he, just wishes him a good night and he tries to give him a quick peck in the cheek, a quick kiss in the cheek. But what Dickie does is he turns his face and gives his father a very long and passionate kiss in the lips, not in the cheek, but in the lips. And when he parts away, he asks this impending question, this one word, why. So that why has a lot of connotations to it. So as Dickie asks this question, something in Richard, it quickly strikes, and suddenly like a knife thrust, he realizes something and he forgets the reason why at all. So the real reason behind his separation seemed extremely trivial and insignificant when his son seemed to be in so much of pain. So that, with that note, the story comes to an end. So, analysis first, we already saw that this story has a lot of autobiographical elements in it. So, the similarities between Richard Maple and John Updike's first marriage are numerous. So, the Maples they resided outside of Boston and they had 4 children whose ages and genders matched the progression of Updike's own children with his first wife. For example, the eldest daughter, the oldest son, the youngest son, and the youngest girl. So the order, the ages, and the genders of all the 4 kids are exactly a replica of Updike's own life. And the details of the Maple children's lives also echo in Updike's own children. So Elizabeth Updike, she's the eldest daughter, and she also studied abroad in England, just like Richard Maple's eldest daughter, Judith. So, a lot of similarities are there. And by holding up a mirror to his own life, Updike creates a compelling figure through which he could express a profound emotional struggle. Next, the themes. So, in this story, we have the themes of struggle, confusion, conflict, acceptance, and separation. So, first about struggle and confusion. So, in this story, Richard and John, the husband and wife, they disagree with each other when it comes to how they should tell their children their plan of separation. So, Richard wants it to be a general announcement when they are sitting down for dinner, while John preferred it that each child should be told individually. So, there the disagreement starts. So, there the struggle starts. And it is also important that though the reader is aware or at least suspects in the beginning that Richard and Joan are separating due to Richard's having an affair, none of the children are aware of this or even suspects this. So, by keeping the children in the dark about why Richard and Joan are separating, the author succeeds in adding the element of confusion into the story. And this element of confusion intensifies even more for the sons John and Dickie. So these are the themes of struggle and confusion. So moving on to the theme of acceptance. So apart from John and Dickie, who seem to be confused as to why his parents may be separating, the other children, that is all the other female children, they accept the fact very easily, especially Judith, because when John discloses to the children about their separation and that it was only temporary, Judith's maturity in accepting the reality is evident because she states that I think it's silly that you should either live together or get divorced. So maybe through these lines, the author Updike might try to highlight the independence that may have existed among young women at that time when the story was written. So just as Judith must have felt a sense of freedom while she was in England, similarly it is possible that Updike is suggesting to Judith may be of a generation who no longer see the necessity in remaining in a marriage when either person was unhappy. In addition to Judith, the youngest girl, Margaret, is more than willing to accept their parents' separation as she had been suspecting it for some time. So then we have the symbols in this story. So the first one, locks. So locks are generally used to secure something. So by having Richard to change the lock, Updike is suggesting that Richard and Joan's marriage is no longer as secure as it previously had been. And also, the task of repairing the lock or symbolically repairing his marriage was proving to be a very difficult task for Richard. And then the second one is the tennis court. So, the tennis court has fallen into disrepair, and this might symbolize Richard and Joan's marriage. So, just as the tennis court was once perfect, likewise, Richard and Joan's marriage may also have been perfect at the beginning. So the line, the crumbling of handfuls of clay into cracks and holes, it symbolically refers to Richard trying to patch up his broken marriage. And just as the tennis court has fallen into disrepair, so too has Richard and Joan's marriage. And the third one, and the most important one, is the surname Maples. So it is possible that by giving Richard the surname Maples, Updike is introducing irony into the story. So the maple trees are commonly known for their strength and endurance, but in this story, the tree Richard and Joan's marriage, the tree of marriage in Richard and Joan's life, that does not last. So that does not have that endurance to last long. So that ironical comment is introduced into the story by using the surname as Maples. So, if we look deeply in this story, it is evident that out of all the characters in the story, Joan, Judith, and Margaret, all the female characters, they appear to be the most resilient. So, by allowing the female characters in the story to be strong, Updike is deliberately reversing the perceived gender roles that existed at that time when the story was written. That is, generally, men were perceived to be more strong and women were perceived to be passive and weak. But rather than attributing any strength to the male characters in the story, the author is reversing the gender roles and allowing each of the females in the story to be strong and accepting the separation. So then we have Dickie's confusion at the end. So this is the crux of the story, and the end of the story is the most critical because the theme of confusion is further explored. And Dickie's kiss at the end of the story, that is, it was passionate as a woman's. So this demonstrates the broad variety of emotional expression in Updike's fiction. So the kiss is not a gesture of physical affection. It is not out of passion physically, but rather an expression of confusion, one that has nothing to do with Dickie's relationship with his father. So by having Dickie ask Richard why, Updike highlights to the readers the confusion that Dickie was feeling over Richard's separation from his mother. So the fact that Richard has forgotten why he is separating from Joan may also be significant because Updike is suggesting that despite having had an affair, Richard is no longer as excited as he had previously been about starting a new life with another woman. So there is a sense that rather than being excited about the prospect of a new life, Richard is actually regretting his actions. That is, regretting his action of having an affair. So he's no longer sure that whether separating from John was the right thing to do or not. So that's the end of our analysis. So this story can, have a lot of connection with our real lives too, because this kind of tussle in marriage and the family confusion and family struggle is very common in everybody's household. So the author, John Updike, is trying to connect with the readers by addressing the issue which is prevalent in most of the homes in America during that time. So, with that, we come to the end of the session. So, I hope this story was clear for you and this story was interesting for you. So, if there are any more doubts or comments, you can leave them in the comment section below. Thank you.